carved this board to stir its dark magic.
Well, Chuck, it's an absolute pleasure to be talking to you today, sir.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. I'll get the fanboy bit out the way quickly. You made two of my favorite horrors of the 80s. Okay, so there's that. So this is a bit of dream fulfillment here. And I'm sure my colleague Howard, if he'd have been able to make it today, he would have been equally as excited as I am. So first of all, congrats on the film. I've obviously watched it, and I had a good time with it. It's really good fun. Although I will say that I'm not going to look at a meat slicer in the same way again. So,
Well, then our wicked plans have worked out.
indeed, indeed. So, it's obviously been a little bit of time in the making, getting Witchboard onto the big screen, and I understand it premiered at last year's Fantasia International Festival. So, what was it like watching it with an audience for the first time?
It was fantastic. Look, we shot it mostly in Montreal and then New Orleans as well, but there was a Montreal crew and a lot of the cast, and we had amazing people to work with. So we were asked to show it at the festival, so we rushed it out. We actually, what I have now is now a new cut that I consider,
Okay.
I consider it the director's cut, even though it's a little tighter. All the effects are popping and the music's great, and I'm really happy. I luxuriated a little bit. This is a true independent film, and I was able to, and it is
Yeah.
now really ready for the audiences.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Really, really glad to hear that. Now, in terms of horror movies, it's been 25 years since we last saw you, and I think that was Bless the Child. I think we're from memory. So I was really wondering, what was it about Witchboard that you found compelling enough to take that dive back into the genre pool? And were you a fan of Kevin Tenney's movie originally?
I am, and unfortunately, he really loved the film. He just saw it about a week ago, and I wanted to honor the original, but it's not. I never do specifically remakes. I, I get people that do. That's great, but there's just like the Blob and even my third Elm Street. There was
Yeah.
room for a new
Yep.
direction, and I wanted to honor the spirit of the original. But I would have never done this if it was just the original. This is a number of things I've wanted to do in horror films. I never got the chance. So what you're seeing is pretty much everything I've wanted to try in the genre that this film was perfect for. Starting with pendulum boards, which had been around since ancient Egypt and are incredibly compelling and very visual. They're a real thing, so beware. Just like Ouija boards. Well, there is a spiritual world, so I don't laugh. I don't like popularizing them without saying so. Whether it's tarot or Ouija boards or a pendulum board, use these things with proper, I hope, good intention. And
Mm.
pendulum boards are used for spell casting as well as connecting with your own subconscious. Scientists believe
Yeah.
that holding that pendulum, there are micro motions in your own muscles where you're answering your own questions. Spiritualists believe it's spirits answering those questions. I think it's a little
Yeah.
bit of both. I think it's both.
I'm glad you've mentioned the board itself, because it was nice to see that it had moved away from what we're so used to seeing on film. When you say there's a spirit board, and that's the Ouija board. So you're saying that they've been around since sort of Egyptian times, and that's not something I was aware of. So how does the design for the board in this movie compare to those that clearly obviously you've maybe been
Look,
researched?
I've researched this some years ago, and they're amazing art objects for one thing, whether it's an ancient one or a contemporary one. They're not stuck with the alphabet. In fact, some of them have no alphabets at all. It's more astrological
Mm.
signs and occult symbols. Many of them do have alphabets, but look, it's legit and organic to the story because they predated Ouija boards, and Ouija boards are a direct evolution from the pendulum boards. I think the early 1900s, because this is all as crazy as my film is, the history is accurate. The history of witches and pendulum boards are almost
Mm,
unbelievable. The French Pope outlawed pendulum boards in the 1700s, and they sort of disappeared after that because women were being burned at the stake as witches for having them.
mm.
This evolved Ouija boards with a planchette and a whole different thing the church wasn't actively outlawing at the time. So look, that happens to be the history, but it's a very colorful and violent history that lent itself great
Yeah.
to a horror thriller.
Yeah, I mean, that's fascinating because one of the things that I particularly liked was that back and forth in time frame of the film, where we're jumping between sort of 16th century sort of France and present day. And my mind, the cogs were already turning before I'd even put the film on. I'm thinking, well, are we going to get sequels here? And as it went into it, I thought, well, maybe we could have a prequel as well. And given the amount of history, is that something that was on your mind when
What,
you
what,
sort of first sort of got involved?
part of what was on my mind was to do a witch that was terrifying, but one of the things that was fun in my career was giving a backstory to Freddy Krueger that didn't exist before, that was organic to that story, and fans seemed to love it.
Mm,
So I thought giving a backstory to our witch and to pendulum boards makes the witch that much more frightening. And I'd seen already too many Ouija board movies and too many movies with kind of the classic Blumhouse shadow witch, just absolutely, glowing eyes, something now you see them, now you
yeah.
don't. Our witch is an important character and is tied to Madison Eisman's character, Emily, in a very dark way. And it was fascinating for me as a filmmaker, and I come from theater. It gave our characters a greater dramatic arc for us to play. So I wanted, why is she a witch? What happened to witches in those days? Why does she want revenge to the point where her spirit can never rest? And
Mm,
how is the pendulum board a portal? So I tried to do something that's available for real in a meditative state where you have access to time. It's like a dream state. You have access to different time. But these are not flashbacks, they're interactive. So it's something I wanted to try cinematically and I thought was very effective. I basically wanted to do a fast-paced film with great original visuals, great scares, and characters we care about. And those elements all came together for us, and New Orleans, and the cat.
yes, the cat. Yeah, never worked with kids or animals. But it was a
My, my,
cute
my,
cat.
my production people thought for sure I would write all that out. They say that can't be done, and cats don't look good in CGI, which I know. But a little bit like the dog in the mask, I found myself a cat I could relate to, and
Yeah.
we only treat them with love. In particular, you can't be cruel to any animals, but especially cats. They will not give a shit. But the cat loved working. It got lots of treats and lots of love from me and Madison Eisman.
Oh, that's lovely. I
For our
wanted to
fans,
ask about
so our fans don't think we're doing a cute cat movie. The cat is a witch's familiar, and when the cat shows
yes.
up, you know the shit's gonna hit the fan when the cat shows up.
Yeah, it's gonna hit something that's turning anyway, but no spoilers, no spoilers.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask about your writing partner on this screenplay, Greg McKay. Were you both on the same page, so to speak, about the direction that you wanted to take this movie in before you started, or was there a lot of back and forth and evolution as you got together in the writers' room?
I've written with writing partners, which is what Frank Darabont and I did. We're dear friends. Greg McKay is also a good friend, but Greg originally had the project. He originally did a rewrite that was very true to the original Witchboard, with a Ouija board and everything else. And I said, look, there's been too many Ouija board movies, but I have a big idea, and it includes a witch and a pendulum board. And Greg loved it, and invited me to produce and direct and do my own draft of the project. And I am a team player. I kept Greg involved, but I did what you see is my draft based on Greg's, based on Kevin Tenney's picture. And I'm very happy
Yeah.
that Tenney seems to love the movie. I tried to honor it without remaking it. And you never know
Yeah.
what the original filmmaker is going to say. And he just loved it. Happy to say.
That's great. You're always on tenterhooks when you take something like that. I mean, it's one of those movies from the 80s. It's that decade where everybody remembers them fondly. Some of them may not necessarily hold up as well, but you still have that reverence and you want to do them justice. And I think you've done that quite perfectly here. So it's great that Kevin's been involved as well. So that's lovely to hear.
I was pleasantly surprised because we were true to the spirit of it and to many of the story hooks, but I had a very strong call it a director's vision here, and I wanted to have some fun and do visuals and characters I hadn't seen before.
Now I know Kevin saw his movie as kind of a love triangle. And I wondered, what you hope people will take away as an interpretation from your movie. Obviously, everybody's going to be a little bit different. What are you really hoping that the key thing is that audience take away from this?
Number one, I'm there to entertain the audience. I wanted to do something that was pure fear and entertainment and great characters. There is a love triangle as well in Witchboard. We flip it. Heavens, it was two guys and a girl. What's the fun in that? So in ours, it's two girls in love with the same guy. And there are disastrous spiritual implications because one of them, spoiler, is more in line with the witches than with our heroes. So that to me was the right kind of love triangle, something with real tension to it.
The other thing that I thought about in terms of how long it's taken this one to come to the screen was I understand that this came to you, the project originally sort of 2017 that you'd started thinking about it. Now, obviously, COVID had thrown a real spanner in the works. How did that affect things in terms of financing and other logistics? I mean, was it fairly simple when everybody was on hold, or was it a little bit more complicated?
No, with independent films, if you don't do it when you first think you're going to do it, it's normal to then go to a new set of people. And there were no hard feelings. It was a COVID-y world, and you have to wait for the stars to align because we're doing these pictures less than a studio budget, but I'm making it look as big as a studio film. That's my job. So I have to have things organized a certain way. And we got an opportunity to shoot it in Montreal. We got an opportunity to partner with Gala Games, and it was a truly great experience. But we didn't get started when we thought. So there was some people were interested in me doing it. So I saw it printed more than I expected, that I had, was interested. But it was a false start. Then it was COVID. Then we got going again in beginning, I think, 2023.
Well, it's been well worth persevering with, and it's very clear that you are proud of your new baby. Finally, I'm just coming full circle. Obviously, I'd said I was fanboying out because you're the man behind A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and I couldn't let you go without just very quickly asking you about that. Dream Warriors obviously marked a real turning point for the franchise, especially given the divisive reception of part 2. And looking at today's audiences, they're deeply immersed in superhero mythology, and Dream Warriors brought in this bold, almost superhero-like tone with each of the kids discovering their inner power and facing their fears. If you were given the keys to Elm Street today, what kind of story would you tell?
I would, I've been asked that before. I'd be happy to do an Elm Street. And interestingly enough, Patricia Arquette recently announced she'd love to do one. And that was Patricia's first gig. So I was happy to help her rise in her career.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
No. Look, our lovely lead young girl, Heather Langenkamp, played her Nancy character, which I really wanted to be true to Wes's original. But our victim, number one victim, was young Patricia Arquette on her first lead role, maybe her first acting role at all. That's the second. I also did that with Cameron Diaz. That was her first acting role. And I come from theater, so there's a way to. This isn't luck. I mean, there's a process in casting that I really enjoy, and both those gals were outstanding and great choices for those roles. So I would extend from Dream Warriors because I still find I had reoccurring nightmares when I was a kid, where a lot of my interest in dreams come because I had to learn how to lucid dream as still a child in order to break that cycle. And that's a real thing. I've studied it since at Stanford with their dream researchers, what that really is. So I find it mind blowing that every night, every person you pass on the street and think nothing of it, we all drop into the craziest scenarios and wake up the next day and get over it. You know, it's just it's a very interesting device, and you need it for your health.
Yeah.
You have to wash your brain, let your brain wash itself. And there is a spiritual element. There could be a predictive element. So I think dreams are literally magic, and dreams are also exactly cinema. So I think sitting in the dark watching a movie is so dreamlike. To me, they're almost one thing. That's why I never quite get over it and continue to use alternate realities and dreams in my films. I believe imagination is the thing that interests me the most in doing the horror genre, um, particularly with the evolving technologies.
Well, that's a wrap from my end. Unfortunately, Chuck, I could carry on talking to you for hours about this, and love to pick your brains some more. But best of luck with the film, and I certainly hope to speak to you again about a future
Anytime.
project.
Great questions, and you're obviously more than a fan, sir. You seem to be a scholar, so thank you.
I try. I do try. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
If you liked that, then you'll love this.